voice and our contribution to the development and stability of our nation. We celebrate and appreciate our Constitution as the consensus document that anchors the sovereignty, aspirations, and rights of the people of Kenya. We affirm the constitutional acknowledgement of the equal value of every human being expressed in the Bill of Rights, including the socio-economic and political rights for women, youth, persons living with disabilities, and marginalized communities. We are alarmed, very alarmed, at the escalating trends of violence against women and children. In the last 1 week alone, the country has witnessed horrific murders. These include that of a mother and her 2 children in Laikipia, the rape and cruel dismembering of a lady in Bungoma, and killing of a university student in Kasarani, and many more incidences of femicide. We are deeply concerned at the rising levels of insecurity in homes, workplaces, and relationships. And as a collective of women, we say zero tolerance to gender-based violence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are further saddened to note that the incidences of violence against women have not escaped even the Houses of Parliament, where we have witnessed the violent language and threats against female members of Parliament. We have witnessed violence against female members of Parliament. Parliament ought to be a seat of honor, where the representatives of the people model what it means to respect the Constitution and the rule of law. The women of Kenya condemn such callous behavior in the strongest terms. We are further incensed by the recent reports of the Senate Legal Affairs and Justice Committee, which has purportedly trashed the constitutional provisions on the equality of men and women. The committee is reported in the media to have rejected the bill tabled by Senators Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and Senator Haji Faria Ali, proposing the amendment of Article 97 of the Constitution to give effect to the 2/3 gender principle through the provision of the top-up clause to implement the principle whenever it is required. We completely are unhappy with the report that the Senate Justice and Legal Affairs Committee has given, and we call upon the members of the Senate to really respect constitutional provisions and constitutional imperatives, reminding them that they swore to uphold the Constitution of Kenya. The committee is reported to have stated that the impact of the current crop of nominated women to both the National Assembly and Senate is yet to be felt. Nothing can be further from the truth. The nominated women members, both in the National Assembly and the Senate, are playing their rightful role. In fact, in the Senate, the most active members are the nominated senators. The women representatives are playing their role. All the special seat holders are playing their rightful role. And we need an analysis, we need an assessment. It cannot be careless statements that the women are not, that the current crop of nominated women is not adding value to what we have. We are saying that the women who are in Parliament are adding value. We are working with them. We call on all of them to work with the Common Women Agenda. But as it is now, we are completely happy with the work that they are doing, noting that some are even more active than the male members of Parliament. The committee is reported to have stated that women have now come of age and do not need top-up seats because 3 women were elected as governors and 3 women were elected as senators. 3 women elected as governors out of 47 is 6%. 3 women elected governors out of 47 is 6%. To say that women have come of age when it is 6% is really to misrepresent the truth and to be economical with the truth. We still need the not more than 2/3 gender principle respected. We are enraged at the reports attributed to the Senate committee, and we are seeking audience with this committee on the matters. We want to thank and applaud Senators Mutula Kilonzo and Faria Ali for staying true to their mandate and for being the people's representatives and showing respect for the Constitution and the need to implement the Constitution. We commend the women senators for taking a strong stand against the position of the Senate committee and calling for the resubmission of the bill. The creation of seats for the county women members of the National Assembly and provision for nominated seats has tremendously assisted in improving the representation of women in Parliament. Every legislator is expected to understand the value of having an inclusive society that minds the plight of the marginalized and the excluded, and should be at the forefront in assisting with implementation of the letter and spirit of the Constitution. It is common knowledge that in our history, exclusion of women, girls, and persons with disability, youth, and certain regions is something that happens. And that is why our Constitution sought to cure those issues of inequalities that we had existing. We even created the Equalization Fund to fast-track the development of marginalized regions. We have not had MPs castigate the principle of equality as regards to marginalized sections. They should not castigate the principle of equality as relates to women. The Senate seems to support marginalization of the women of Kenya, and we would want to condemn this in the strongest terms possible. We maintain that the not more than 2/3 gender principle must be fully implemented in accordance with the Constitution. We, as the women of Kenya, would like to affirm our common agenda and reject any schemes to divide us along artificial boundaries and categories. The problems that face us as women are the same, and will not allow others to create segments of us. The following is the common women agenda. We celebrate the invaluable and enormous contribution of the women of Kenya, who from independence have made huge sacrifices and contributed to the development of our country. We recognize the role of women in every corner of our nation and the selfless role that they play in keeping the society moving forward. We recognize the importance of safeguarding and protecting the gains in the Constitution of Kenya 2010 for women and other marginalized groups in the national conversations and all spaces. All the conversations going on must safeguard and protect the gains of women in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. We note with concern the ongoing narrative that women are overly represented and contribute to the high wage bill. This is misleading. Women are part of the taxpayers. Women need to be represented. Women are 50.5% of the population. We are not a burden. We are not adding to the wage bill. We call for commitment on implementation of the principle of inclusion, and the need to ensure women's participation remains central and informs every program in this country and every national conversation. We call for greater socio-economic services to improve and relieve women's issues. In particular, we call for more investment in healthcare, and we call for extension of healthcare services to matters that affect women in sexual and reproductive health. We demand urgent action by all actors to end gender-based violence. We ask for zero tolerance to gender-based violence and call on all the actors to end gender-based violence in our country: sexual gender-based violence, political and electoral violence, femicide, defilement, among others. We want a safe society for our people and for our women and girls. A safe society where vulnerable members of the society, including young girls and persons with disability, are protected in this country. We support the call by the President to end harmful cultural practices, including FGM, by the year 2020. But just to underscore that we have come together to support a common women agenda, women from all walks of life, women from the National Assembly, from the Senate, from the grassroots, from the civil society organizations, from the private sector, from the academia, from the commissions. We are going to work together on a common women agenda. We want to create a tribe of women, and a tribe of women that protects the gains that women have and ensures that those gains are protected and advanced. We thank you. There are representatives